everybody, Noreen here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the new Collage Wreath Recipe Template from Creative Memories. This is another great tool that you can add to your scrapbooking arsenal for when you want to create a little bit of a different type of page. And I really want you to consider it a tool, just like your punches, your trimmers. It really is a tool that you can use in many, many different ways. So today I want to talk about how versatile it is, give you a few kind of practical tips, and then talk about a few ways that you can be really creative with it. Now, many of you are going to look at this template and say, well, that's kind of a neat idea, but I'm really only going to be able to kind of create one look, one type of layout. So let me address the versatility of this tool. I've got it on a piece of black cardstock here, so we can kind of talk about all the different ways you can use it. I've got the logo down here, Creative Memories, and I want to show you that first off, just by turning it, rotating it 90 degrees each way, you get 4 different layout variations, all right? But if we flip it over so that the logo is on the opposite side, we also get an additional 4 variations when we start rotating it. So right off the bat, we've got 8 different ways that we could use it. If you copied it exactly, you'd have 8 different layouts. The second way, though, that you can make it versatile is you can really make it simple to elaborate. And I often talk about this with my customers. You don't have to cut out and trace every single one of these little shapes, all right? You can pick and choose. So, for example, you could create sort of this rainbow or ray effect by cutting out all of these shapes, but you don't have to. You can certainly group all of those shapes together and make one continuous background shape. And that's what I've done in this layout. You can see that this pink paper shape at the back is really, let me flip this over for you, is really the space that's taken up by all of those rays together. And to make that, all I did was place it on top of my paper and trace around the edges. And where there was these little breaks, I just simply cut through that on my paper. So even though I had a little break in my pencil line, I just continued cutting. I did the same thing for the circles here. Now again, when you look at the circles, you've got a number of different circles. You've got 1 circle, 2 circles, 3, and 4. So there's 4 different sizes of circles, plus you could even cut out each of these little individual shapes and group them together to make the impression of a circle. But all I did here was trace and cut out the larger circle and use that in the background. So really, although this layout looks quite complex, there's really only 2 paper shapes here. Okay, and you can see that this was the leftover paper from where I cut out the large circle. In this one, I have gone ahead, let me get that lined up properly, and you can see that I've cut out each of these individual rays, and then I cut out 2 circles, the large green one and then kind of the middle size in the floral. And I've chosen to leave this space empty, just as there's going to be the space between the rays. I also wanted to have some space between the circle, okay? So again, you can create and use whichever of these shapes that you want to. Okay, so let's talk about some of the tools that you'll need when you're creating layouts with the Collage Wreath template. First of all, you're going to need a pencil. I prefer a mechanical pencil. It's got a fine point and a hard lead so that it's very easy to erase. If you have a soft sort of dark pencil, it of course will be more difficult to erase, and you could see some of the marks on your paper shapes. I always recommend the Staedtler Pearl Artist Erasers. That will get rid of any little marks that you have. It's handy to have a ruler. Let me grab those. A clear ruler will help you see through what you're doing. But of course, my favorite type of ruler is the zero centering ruler. I use this for so many different things. And then, of course, scissors to cut out your shapes. Now, I really like the Creative Memories scissors. They're nice and sharp, but they also have a short blade length so that it's easy to get into some of those smaller shapes. And just a tip to when you're cutting. I know that sometimes we, think, I'm not a very good cutter. I can't fussy cut. I can't do this very well. Hold the paper still and then move your hand that has the scissors. If you keep trying to move the paper and the scissors, that's oftentimes when you get kind of, a rougher cut, okay? The tool, though, that I find most important to use with the wreath template is the repositionable adhesive. Now, when you purchase the wreath template, you can either purchase it just as is, just the template itself, or you can purchase it as a bundle. When you purchase it as a bundle, you receive some clips and a photo labeling pencil. The clips are meant to hold your template and your paper together, but I really find that the repositionable adhesive does a great job for this. So what I like to do is just add a little bit of repositionable adhesive all the way around my template, and then I place it onto the paper, and that repositionable adhesive really helps the stencil stay in place so that when I start to, oops, broke my pencil, when I start to trace, the stencil is not moving around, so I can easily go through and trace any of the shapes that I need. All right, then I can just simply pull off the adhesive. If there's a little bit on the paper, I just rub it off with my finger and we're good to go, okay? Then I cut out my shapes that I choose, and then when I am ready to re-adhere the shapes on, I like to place the template onto my layout base, again using the repositionable adhesive, and that way I can place each one of my shapes in the exact right place, and again, the template and my layout base aren't going to be moving all around and giving me problems when I'm trying to arrange it all, okay? Again, repositionable adhesive, just pull it off. If you've got some on your stencil, just rub it off with your finger. If you've got some on your paper, you can use your finger or your eraser. So really easy way to make sure that you're getting a nice effect. One other practicality that I want to mention is when you're cutting paper, in this layout, I cut a variety of different shapes from one piece of paper. I like to recommend that you trace all the shapes and then cut them at the same time. So you can see here that what I did is I placed my stencil over top, and I lined it up and I cut out all of the pieces that I was going to use from this particular paper at the same time. That way, when I re-adhere them onto my layout, all of the pattern is going all in the same direction. So it creates a really cohesive sort of look. If you're going to use different small scraps for especially these smaller pieces, do make sure that they have a consistent element in them. So either choose scrap papers that have the same color or the same type of pattern, and make sure that you're orienting them in a way that makes for a cohesive layout. Now, in terms of creativity, there's a lot of different things you can use this template for. I often think of these templates sort of as stencils, so I'm always tempted to draw inside these particular spaces. And I want to show you a layout that I completed recently just by using my white cardstock and some of my colorful Creative Memories pens. And all I did was place the template on top of a piece of white paper, and then I literally traced inside with the bold tip. Again, I adhered it down to the paper so it wouldn't move. Traced inside shapes that I wanted to feature with the bold tip side of my pen. And then as you can see, some of the shapes have little dots inside them and others have shapes. And then I left that center band open so that I could create my title or some information there with some stickers. So that's a fun way to use your template. And again, you could do that in just a few little spots. You could do a whole layout like I've done. The other thing you can do is use some solid cardstock in different places. So again, take your various cardstock, line it up, trace out your shapes, and then maybe you're going to have a whole rainbow of different shades, or maybe you're going to alternate cardstock and a patterned paper. Okay? The other thing is, don't be limited to using just paper. You could definitely take your photos and focus one of your, something like this might be really nice, and then that shape would be a photo instead of a piece of paper. Okay, so definitely don't be limited by thinking that this is just for use with patterned paper. I think once you get your own collage wreath template and play around with it a little bit, definitely you'll find that you can create a variety of different layouts, all of which are really exciting and different. All right, so I hope you give it a try. Thanks so much for joining me today, and if you have questions about the collage wreath or other ideas that you think that you might try, definitely put them in the comments down below. Thanks very much for joining me, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.